Would you please rise as you're able for the reading of the Gospel? Today's Gospel reading is from Luke 14:1, 7 through 14. Jesus tells a story that illustrates humility. One Sabbath, when Jesus went to dine at the house of a ruler who belonged to the Pharisees, they were watching him. Noticing how they chose the places of honor, Jesus told a parable to those who were invited, saying to them, "When you are invited by anyone to a marriage feast, do not sit down in a place of honor, lest a more eminent person than you be invited. And the one who invited you both will come and say to you, 'Give place to this person,' and then you will begin with shame to take the lowest place. But when you are invited, go and sit in the lowest place, so that your host, having come, may say to you, 'Friend, go up higher.' Then you will be honored in the presence of all who sit at the table with you. For all who exalt themselves will be humbled, and all who humble themselves will be exalted." Jesus said also to the person who invited him, "When you give a dinner or a banquet, do not invite your friends or your brothers and sisters or your relatives and rich neighbors, lest they also invite you in return and you be repaid. But when you give a feast, invite those who are poor and maimed and lame and blind, and you will be blessed, because they cannot repay you. You will be repaid at the resurrection of the just." May God add understanding to this reading of the Gospel.
The hymn response today is number 563, "Open My Eyes That I May See."
page 1 of my sermon. There it is. Yeah. Cheryl was trying to help me. I turned to the page. And, Good morning.
Good morning.
What a nice looking bunch of faces. I really mean that. You really lift my spirits and Mark's every Sunday. It's Sunday here because we don't have other programs during the week. It's the day that it gives me a boost to get up on Monday morning, jump out of bed at the sound of the cat calling me at 6:30, place my feet on the floor and a smile on my face, get the coffee going, go outside, sit down and say, "Good morning, God. Thank you." I always start my mornings out like that. And Sundays just helps. It's like taking your battery and get it recharged so that you're fresh and you have the power to make it through the week. Would you join me in prayer? God, I come to you once again to offer myself as a tool, as an instrument to do your work. I pray that you would guide my spirit, that you would bless and anoint my lips and tongue so that the words I speak today would be your words and not my own. Help me to remove myself. I pray that you would open all of our hearts, all of our spirits, so that each one of us could hear on this day on our journey the words that we need to hear and that you would have us to hear. It's in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ, I pray. Amen. Actually, Mark's been talking about the last few weeks, some of the readings have been kind of hard to find a good, positive sermon out of sometimes. Well, I got lucky. Today's a good one. Today's a real good one. And before you get confused, it's not about where you sat at the table. Okay? It's not about that at all. From the first reading, we heard, "Let your love for one another continue. Do not neglect to show hospitality to strangers, for thereby some have entertained angels unaware." Today's gospel lesson is about not where you sit at the table or where you stand in line, but it's about humility. Humility. That's a word that some of us think, humility, weakness. No, humility is strength. A person that is humble is a strong person. Humility means seeking God, looking for God in everything that you see and do. It's the virtue of suspending your own wants and needs in order to consciously seek God in all people and experiences that you have. Let me repeat that. Suspend your own wants and needs and seek God in others and in all the experiences that you have. True humility is centered in the things of God. Love, compassion, mercy, selflessness, tolerance, forgiveness. That's what the humility of God is like. If we truly understand the depth of God's love, we realize that all the blessings that we receive, and some of us feel like we receive lots of blessings, but all those blessings have come as a result of God's love for us and not as a result of something that we've done to deserve them. That's God's humility. The only response that we can make to such a deep and profound love is to try to return that love to those around us, to share the bounty of our table and blessings with others. And when we say bounty of our table, I'm not just talking about supper time or handing a Happy Meal to a homeless person on the street. I'm talking about sharing all your gifts and all your things and all your blessings with the people around you. The humility of the gospel that we hear about today is not motivated by self-hatred. It's not self-punishment. It's not a desire to deny yourself because we don't find ourselves worthy. As taught by Jesus, humility is an awareness of who we are. An awareness of who we are before God. Our constant need for God. Our constant dependence upon God for everything. And the constant love of God and forgiveness that we receive each day. In today's gospel from Luke, Jesus calls us to embrace the attitude of seeking out the lowest place at the table for the sake of others. We are promised that in heaven, God will exalt such actions. We are taught from the lesson to invite to our tables those who cannot repay us. This is how God accepts us. We cannot do enough to repay God for everything God's given us, but God offers us forgiveness and love anyway. True humility is offering that and sharing it with those around you. Jesus challenges us to do what is right. Such a little word. Especially in today's atmosphere of politics, where you hear big, wonderful, flamboyant words and terms, and they don't mean anything. Jesus calls us to do what is right, what is good, and what is just like we receive that from God. And we should do it not because we have a duty to do it, or that we feel like that it's in our self-interest to do it, or that we need to feel superior to other people. It's like, okay, homeless person, I'm buying you a meal. I'm better than you are because I have a job and I have money and you don't. That's not the reason to do that. I've always said one of the biggest problems in the world, the number one problem, is control issues that people have. I really believe that still yet. You give not to control others. You give because you want to. Because it's the right thing to do. Because it's the good thing to do. If we follow the example of Jesus Christ, we can start to understand the love that God has for each and every one of us. At the foot of Mount Sinai, the Israelites knew God. They knew how great God was, and such powerful images of clouds and fire and storms and thunder and lightning. Oh my. That's how they knew God. They were terrified by the greatness of God and the power of God. But in Jesus Christ, we know God as forgiving, merciful, just, compassionate, and God has become approachable for us. We don't have to stand down below the mountain. God is here. God is now. We can talk to God ourselves. We don't have to go through a high priest. We don't have to kill a pigeon or its lamb. We can just talk to God anytime we want to, because we know God is there with outstretched arms, welcoming us into a community of faithful. Sometimes we view others in terms of abstract labels or impersonal demographics. We tend to dismiss people and whole groups of people for a variety of reasons. And don't shake your head and say, no, I've never done that. Well, I have. We do that all the time. We look at people and say sometimes horrible things. When we see them just driving down the highway or walking down the street, or see them on TV. We decide somewhere back in our mind that they're not worthy of the investment of our time, our attention, and our effort, because they're just a little bit lower. That's not being humble in the eyes of God. The words of Jesus Christ challenge us to embrace humility. Maybe I should start that again. The words of Jesus Christ challenge us to embrace humility, to welcome others into our lives, because they too are children of God, the God who created them and us. Humility is taught by Jesus is not a mere diminishing of ourself, but the realization that we share with each other the sacred dignity of being made in God's image and likeness. We're all worthy of respect and acceptance. And we in the LGBTQI plus community, I have to think about that. We have felt that before from others who look down on us and think that we're not equal with them. But we have been. And we are created equal with each and every other person. We cannot pass that lesson along to others. Well, someone didn't like me, so it's okay for me not to like someone else. No, it's not okay. To be humble as Christ models humility is to see everyone as God sees everyone. I know that's a big task, but it doesn't mean you can't try. We must try and attempt each day to understand God and our relationship with God. And we must every day to attempt and try the best we can with all of our resources to follow in the footsteps of Jesus Christ. All people are invited to sit and share the blessings at the same table. I love our communion that I learned from MCC. And many other denominations have adopted it. It's an open communion. You don't have to jump through hoops. You don't have to do anything. You can just walk in the door and walk up here and share communion. Because this table is God's table for all people. You know, a gift given with expectations of getting something in return is not a gift. It's not a gift. It's a trade. Some of the, I hate to say this, and I know Angela will understand because we were around each other at that time in my life when I didn't have any extra money. Not that we do now, but a couple of Christmases, well, one Christmas in particular, I remember Susan Stevenson called me, and we had been roommates before, and she had moved to Texarkana. And she called me, and she couldn't stand her job. She said, I'm coming back home. I lived in a one-room, not one-bedroom, one-room apartment where you could lay in the bed, put your foot over on the dresser. You could almost reach the bathroom, and the kitchen was just about 6 foot away. The closet was a pipe that I had hung up from the ceiling on a chain. That's where my clothes were. And I said, well, come home, Susan. She moved in with me. It's the only time in my life I really spent a lot of time in bed with a woman. I always wore pajamas, I will tell you that. But that Christmas, when she didn't have any money and I didn't have much money, we actually made gifts. I don't know how we did it in that tiny little one-room apartment, but we made our Christmas gifts to give others. And that's an humbling experience. You give someone something you made that, you know, cost you $4 or $5 in materials, maybe not that much. And they give you a $300 set of books. If that's not humbling, I don't know what is. But I look back on that with so much fondness. And I also look back on a few Christmases where we've reached out to people that we knew were alone and invited them into our house. And went out real quickly and bought presents for them so they could have something. They had nothing to give back. What a great feeling. What a great feeling to know that you can give and not expect anything in return. Humility is not a weakness. It's a strength. It's a sign of a strong person that's had lots of experiences and that's journeying on to even more. The gospel reading tells us to invite the beggars in because, let me tell you, at times in our lives we're all beggars. Join hands with the untouchable. For each and every one of us have at times in our lives been not perfect. Give honor to everyone because we each one in our lives have needed to be recognized and know that to know that we're loved by someone or appreciated by someone. Reach out to the unbearable because we have all been there at one time or another. Share our blessings with whoever may come our way. with whoever may come our way. For we all have been in a spot of need and in a place where we needed blessings, and we've received them from God. Share those with others. Humility is a great thing to have. It's taught to us by Jesus. Humility. Recognize who you are compared to everyone else. You're a creation of God, just like everyone else. You think you deserve more than somebody else? Because you've done more? Those who do a lot or think they've done a lot and amass a lot of money, new cars, big houses, all that stuff, that's not success. Of course, I'd like to be a little bit closer to that, but success is in the people around you that you share with. The people that share with you. Now, please don't leave here today thinking at the next potluck everybody needs to stand back and let someone else go first. We'll never get to eat if we do that. And that's not what it's about. But it may be about you bringing a dish to share with someone else. It may be about you helping someone with their plate to the table. Humility is a good thing, not a weak thing. Be strong. Be humble. Amen.